Hi everyone, me Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Taylor Swift album, The Life of a Showgirl. This is the 12th full-length studio album from, I guess, who's the biggest songwriter on the planet, Miss Taylor Swift. What can be said about Taylor Swift that has not been said a million bajillion times already? Or would even be widely agreed upon by everybody? Continually, I find the strangest thing about Taylor Swift to be that there is just so little agreement on her, despite her immense fame and exposure. She's almost like a Rorschach test for pop fans at this point, I would say, because not only are there just such vastly different reads of her and her music in terms of if it's good, if it's not, if it's deep, if it's shallow, so on and so forth, but often many of these takes say more about the person giving them than Taylor herself. One thing is for sure, wherever Taylor Swift and her music goes, some kind of debate is sure to follow. And I will give credit where it's due and say that the past 5 years of her career have just been masterfully played in terms of her output, her accomplishments, and her ability to engage and enthrall her audience. Because not only did you have those pandemic-era indie folk sister albums, which in my opinion were kind of the creative highlight of her career thus far, but then in addition to that, there was also the massively successful Eras Tour. And let's not also forget, she was re-recording and re-releasing all of her older records in order to have master's copies of those albums that she fully owned, only for her to have recently bought all of her masters back anyway. And then also, she was still dishing out new album cycles too, between Midnights, as well as the very lengthy and massive Tortured Poets Department, both sort of divisive albums in their own right in her catalog, but their commercial success cannot be denied. So even if they weren't strokes of creative genius, they most definitely showcase strokes of marketing genius. So Taylor is truly at a point right now in her career where she is really just operating with cheat codes on. She can truly just do anything she wants just because. But despite everything currently coming up Taylor, it does seem that she is trying to do her best to give her fan base a highly demanded reset of sorts with The Life of a Showgirl. And how is she doing that? Well, first off, she is cutting the fat, basically throwing away the endless sprawl and lengthy runtimes of projects like Folklore and Evermore Together, as well as the Tortured Poets Department, which, if you remember, pretty much got extended out to 2 full albums with the deluxe edition. And this project is also in its own way a departure from the sonics and instrumentation on Midnights too, because at least for now, Taylor Swift is moving away from her tried and trusted producers, Jack Antonoff as well as Aaron Dessner, as a lot of fans seemingly had like an increasing distaste for a lot of the very moody and airy and low impact instrumentals they were bringing to the table. And she has decided instead for The Life of a Showgirl to team up once again with Max Martin and Shellback, production legends who were there years ago when Taylor Swift was essentially making her first transitions from the world of country to pop music. There's also the matter of the title and messaging and the album rollout and the track list of this record too, which made it pretty apparent from the outset this record in some measure was going to be an analysis, a commentary on Taylor Swift's fame, her life in the limelight, the public image shift she has foreseen in recent years, maybe also recent controversies, elements of her life that are under the magnifying glass now, like her relationship with fiancé Travis Kelce, maybe even ways in which her name has been forced into the world of politics. I mean, it was as recently as August that the president was truthing talking about this woman, talking about how she's a woke singer and no longer hot, and how he can't stand her, which is a kind of insane thing for a pop star to have to experience, even if it is this president. But from the start of this record, it's clear that Taylor Swift has something much more personal in mind, as the opening track here is about, yes, a relationship, which may for Taylor Swift be a typical topic, but is it a typical angle? No, because in Taylor Swift's relationship tales, she's usually a power player, or if she is feeling screwed over, she's boldly asserting her side of the story. But now in this instance, she is depicting herself as essentially having her life saved by Travis' love. Because if he did not love and care for her, she would befall the same fate Ophelia did after Hamlet rejected her. I mean, let's also not forget that he murked her dad too, which, that's also pretty bad. But yeah, it's a very, if not for you, sort of perspective that we don't often hear from Taylor. And this is a shift narratively that she acknowledges in at least one line on the song. But still, it is a significant change. Regardless, though, I do enjoy this opener quite a bit, because I do think the hyperbole going on with this track does play into the idea of an album called The Life of a Showgirl. You know, things are going to be hammed up a little bit, possibly. And in addition to that, I like the production on this track too. It's very punchy, elegant pop music with refined arrangements that have a bit of an orchestral touch to them. So don't go into this album presuming that just because Max Martin is in the mix, we're going to get another synth-heavy, indie-fied set of metropolitan bangers, because that is not what this record is. This is very much clearly not another 1989. Comparatively, I would say this track has more in common with like a Florence and the Machine song, but just like a little lighter and not so over the top. And I would say still at this point too, vocally, Taylor is still exhibiting a lot of Lana Del Rey influence. She just cannot let go of the impact that woman's sound and singing has had on her. But at least this time around, she's doing a slightly better job of kind of owning it in a way to where it doesn't feel like she's just doing an imitation. In addition to this, I would say a lot of these same elements are present on the following track, Elizabeth Taylor, but they're turned up to 11 with bigger drums, grand piano touches, strings, shoutier vocal passages too. Really cute lines as well, like "Be my NY when Hollywood hates me." And the track for the most part seems to very much be about how love and fame intersect for her, while also addressing her potential shelf life as a public figure. Following this, we have OPALITE, which I would say is another highlight on the album, contributing to a pretty strong first leg. And the verses on this track read with the same groovy, soft pop rock instrumental palettes that you might catch on a Fleetwood Mac classic. But then it bursts into this jubilee of 60s girl group vocal harmonies. Big contrast, but simultaneously, Taylor and her collaborators somehow make it work. And they've really modernized this sound with sequence drums and digital reverbs that make all the instrumentation sound real starry. Overall, it's one of the more toned down songs in the track list here, but still, it's smooth and catchy nonetheless, and a welcome change from a lot of the turgid and tedious pacing of many songs from Tortured Poets. But Showgirl, as direct as it is not entirely a simple listen, because Taylor very quickly in this track list begins to complicate things a little bit with some very strange messaging and points of view, like on Father Figure, which is another number that does stick with me, honestly, instrumentally and melodically. I do think it's quite the earworm. And I also appreciate how the drama of this track fits in with the aesthetics and the overall mood and vibe of a Showgirl album. On some level, it does feel like Taylor is a little in character, as to me this song kind of reads like the act of putting on a mask so you can get away with saying the sort of things that you actually want to say. As on this song, Taylor is very much playing out a bit of a power fantasy, talking about some sort of protege who she pings as reminding her of a younger version of herself. But deeper into the song, the lyrics talk more about Taylor's own character than this person, kind of portraying herself as this very benevolent father figure who protects the family and is kind of like guiding and helping this person, and all they ask for in return is that they are loyal. And while at first this figure comes across like, very nice and very understanding, I mean, still the way this operates, it's still very cold-blooded, it's business-oriented, it's his way or the highway. It's actually maybe a little Trumpian, especially as she drops lines about how her dick is bigger, and also you'll be sleeping with the fishes before you know you're drowning. So yeah, there are elements of this track and this character that are kind of unhinged, and as catchy as I think the track is, parts of it do skeeve me out because there are elements of it that feel like it comes from a place of sincerity. But for as much as I have some light criticisms for this song, the album begins to take a real serious nosedive into Eldest Daughter, which musically is kind of like your stereotypical millennial somber piano ballad. Taylor really retracts the claws on this one and instead portrays herself as somebody who is just overcome with sadness because of how dark and cynical the internet is, with lines like, everybody's so punk on the internet, everyone's unbothered till they're not, every joke's just trolling and memes, sad as it seems, apathy is hot. And not that these feelings or observations are completely inaccurate, but it's more of an issue of the messenger versus the message. Because, I mean, you're Taylor Swift, you're not the lone bleeding heart in an ocean of trolls and haters. Like, the way that you operate in the world and present yourself is just as calculated as any of these haters who are trying their best to act like they don't care. In fact, Taylor does exactly that deeper into the album, which we will get to in a bit, I guess. So she doesn't even live up to the portrayal that she gives herself on this song. And to further add to the disconnected fantasy world this song exists in, you have lines like, I've been afflicted by a terminal uniqueness. I've been dying just from trying to seem cool. I'm sorry, I get indigestion just thinking of saying that line. I've been afflicted by a terminal uniqueness. Dude, do you have 4 months left to live? Like, what stage is this terminal uniqueness? Has it gotten into the lungs? After this, we have Ruin the Friendship, which more like Ruin the Song. I mean, it's not the most unique pop songwriter song out there for sure. But, if you like some old school Taylor Swift or some Jewel, you'll at least find something in the very personal and tragic story this song has to offer, as the track is all about a high school crush, the nostalgia, the imagery, the tension of, wanting to kiss this guy. But then suddenly, he passes away in an absolutely, genuinely heart-wrenching moment. But then Taylor's takeaway and advice from this point forward, given that fact, is you should have made sure that you made out with him anyway. Like, the relationship status in the song is a bit muddy, and I would hate for someone to take the wrong message away from this track and think like, I should just wantonly try to steal other people's girlfriends and boyfriends because who cares? It's better than living with the regret of having not made out with them in case they die. Following from here, we have more low points, like with the song Actually Romantic, which is a pop rock number with a very tried and true chord progression that, believe me, you've heard a million times. But sadly, the performance on this track never really truly rocks. It just stays kind of thin and stiff the entire time, even as the drums are like, at full capacity for this song anyway, which is unfortunate because I think if a track this snarky and this unhinged is going to be pulled off effectively, Taylor should really just be going full on into this feeling and this response here, which don't give me that bullshit about how Anthony, she's supposed to be acting nonchalant on the song. I'm sorry, you're writing a response to somebody. The nonchalance is out the window. You are totally and fully giving a care. And you're literally dropping lyrics about how this person's obsession with you makes you wet. Go crazy with it. Go insane. Go over the top. Get unhinged. There are currently a lot of allegations around the internet right now proposing that this song is in fact about Charli XCX because maybe the song is Taylor picking up on the meaning behind Sympathy is a Knife from Charli's last record, Brat, which if Taylor is the person Charli is singing about on that song, it's not a diss. It's not an insult. It's not in anything. Charli is singing about somebody who is a source of insecurity for her, which if that's you, Taylor, you are merely a placeholder in that situation. I'm sorry. Anybody who reached a point of success that you did in that dynamic would be a source of anxiety and insecurity for Charli in that song. Again, if people supposing that this is about Charli XCX, if they're correct. But yeah, if Taylor was going to write a response to somebody about someone who is seemingly obsessed with her and has negative things to say about her behind the scenes, and she was going to call it out in the way that she is on this track, I just wish she actually drummed up some fireworks in the process, instead of releasing a song that essentially feels like a tweet. After this, we have Wish List, which sonically is a fine cut. It's got a very cute, chill, shimmering beat with chimey synthesizers that give an almost wintry feel. Wouldn't be surprised to hear this track playing in the department stores this December. And the song also comes laced with a simple message, Taylor essentially singing about settling down, having some kids, getting a basketball hoop, maybe living off the grid. And she kind of compares this to the excessive and material wants and desires of everybody else. I'm not blown away by it, but it is endearing a little bit and sort of ushers in, I guess, Taylor's trad wife era a little bit. I also do sense a little bit of a T-Swizzle flow on the refrain of this track, as, you know, Taylor saying, "Bossed up, settle down, got a wish list." Again, it's a listenable cut. What is not very listenable is the following Would, which essentially kind of sounds like a Maroon 5 song from the mid to early 2000s. And, you know, it's a cute enough track about finding love, that initial attraction, but then it just kind of devolves into a bunch of winks and nods about Travis Kelce's dick, with Taylor singing about, you know, his redwood tree and his magic wand and, you know, his key that opened up her thighs and a hard rock. And also she was matized. You can't say dick-matized. You were literally singing about your dick earlier on the album. Yeah, as much as her heart is in this on some level, I'm sure it is, I don't know if horny is Taylor's like forte. However, I am even more disturbed by the track Canceled. And no, I'm not just talking about the lyric about girl bossing too close to the sun. No, I'm actually way more bothered by the content of these verses, with Taylor talking about how she doesn't care about optics, how she has friends with matching scars and that they live in an underworld, and about how, everybody's at least at some point taken someone's man. Everyone's got bodies in the attic. And also her talking about like learning the art of not getting caught. Not getting caught doing what? What friends are you talking about? What underworld are you living in? Like, this song is either one of two things. It's either Taylor Swift really building up in a hyperbolic fashion how unlikable and canceled her friend group is, which in that case, it's just like kind of fake and cringe. Or in the other case, she actually is currently surrounded by some very terrible, awful people, which, like, how bad are we talking? How many bodies are in the attic? How many men have these people stolen? Have any of these people turned up on the Epstein flight logs? I'm just saying, like, in a time and a place where there's some pretty awful people out there not getting repercussions for the terrible things they do out in the open, this is a very strange song to release. Like, very out of touch, very tone deaf. After this, Honey, I just don't want to or know how to get into, because it really is a pointless snoozer of a track. It adds nothing to the album that all the songs previous to it didn't already. It's really just like the biggest nothing burger on the record. And then we have the closer, which in my opinion is just a weak finale. I mean, some of the instrumental palette changes are kind of cute and definitely kind of give way to that Showgirl vibe and aesthetic and angle the album is trying to play. But all these changes, all this building doesn't really culminate into a grandiose finish that leaves things feeling worthy of the title, The Life of a Showgirl. I mean, sure, the song is obviously a commentary on fame and performance itself, but honestly, we've been subjected to endless strings at this point from the pop world of, many a single, many a record that analyzes exactly that. What does this track bring to the table that all of those other songs and albums didn't already? Not much. Outside of like a decent Sabrina Carpenter feature. But yeah, unfortunately, a truly forgettable ending to an album that starts a lot stronger than it finishes. But yeah, that's The Life of a Showgirl, I guess. Sadly, I'm very torn on what Taylor Swift had to offer this time around. In one breath, I really do like that this album was poppier, catchier, punchier, more direct and to the point. Again, cutting away at the excessive runtime of the Tortured Poets Department and all that. But simultaneously, like, this is some of Taylor Swift's worst writing lyrically she has ever done in her entire career. Worst, tackiest, most out of touch, most childish. I mean, people have been saying this, and I do tend to agree, that there are songs that she wrote when she was a teenager or in her early 20s that comparatively to many songs on this album are more mature and more poetic. But I mean, you don't even need to go back that far. Just look at some of the autobiographical and otherwise writing that was all over folklore and evermore. Like just 5 years ago, Taylor was writing immensely more mature and smarter tracks that had just a lot more depth to their emotions, to their storytelling, to a lot of things, frankly. Sadly, I feel like this record's biggest issue is that it truly is just dumbed down, which is why I'm feeling a light to decent 4 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Taylor Swift, forever.